Hello and welcome to episode 70 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Joining us tonight we have Terence, tier 161 from our page to the podcast, celticrumours.co.uk. You could also check out all our links to the podcast in our description below. On today's show we will look at yesterday's 1-0 victory over Dundee United with match reaction and analysis. Looking back on the month of January for Celtic, also should Celtic distance themselves from alcohol and gambling advertising, and we look ahead to the big Glasgow derby on Wednesday night. Firstly though, I'll hand off to Mark and do a few shout outs and then he'll bring Terence onto the show.
Thanks very much, Paul. A few quick shout outs to Tim Alloy, Richie and his family, Campsy boy, Mikey. Mikey's still struggling as well. The lads on the live chat there, see Bobby Sutherland in. Me and Bobby's had some laugh on YouTube this week, Paul. See all the daft podcasts and that we watch. They've been setting up this bare knuckle boxing competition and it's just turned into one absolute complete farce. So it has. I know you don't follow this, but some of them made a pure idiot of themselves at this press conference they set up. So over a wee chat with Bobby and that in the chat where the night's going on. Jabra Jobbies is in there again. I seen the team come on our live chat yesterday, Paul.
He did indeed, yeah.
I was at Chapel. I was only saw the first half hour again, plus like the highlights on sports scene kind of thing. But good to see there's people coming across for here onto that kind of thing that we're doing onto the forum and that. We're up at 525 subs, so that's the highest we've been at. That's we're getting up, Paul. That's the main thing. Do you know what I mean? So thanks everybody that's subscribed. And if you haven't, please subscribe, share it, hit the like button, and if you know how, please leave a comment in the description box below.
Perfect. Do you want to bring on Terence so Mark and I walk away?
Go and get them.
After Rangers dropping points to Ross County in the Dingerwell with their result finishing 3-3, it was crucial that Celtic get a win against Dundee United at Celtic Park. A very slow start to the game from Celtic, and again Celtic missing their chances on goal and some fine saves by Dundee United keeper Ben Seagrass. Ange ran the changes in the second half, bringing on Yotta, 16-year-old Doak, bringing on McCarthy, taking off Forrest, Giamarcus, and the injured, the red-carded Neon Bitten, James McCarthy. Sorry, that's there. Yotta putting in the great pass on the 90th minute into a Nevada, who's now settled in the middle of the forward line. Great control, slotting the ball up past Benjamin Seagrass and closing the gap to Rangers to 2 points ahead of Wednesday's derby. The stats for the game was as follows: shots 21 to Dundee United's 7. Celtic had 8 shots on target. Dundee United had 0. 76% possession to 24% to Dundee United. Passes 717 to Celtic to 239. Pass accuracy 85% to 53%. Fouls 10 to their 7. Yellow cards 1 to Celtic, 2 to Dundee United, and of course the red card to Lee Beaton. Terence, I'll start with yourself first. He's diagnosed, I can see. It wasn't the best of starts again by Celtic. We seemed to be very slow tempoed in the first half, and we never kind of got any kind of rhythm going in the game yesterday, did we, Terence?
No. Evening, lads.
Evening, Terence.
I'd agree with you, Paul. I wrote that down myself today. I thought, considering the results that had occurred that morning, the other game, that we were very, very flat-footed. We were very, very slow. It wasn't a patch on the way they had played against Hearts during the week with the pace. And the first half, as I said, to me, it was just you were kind of going, come on, lads, come on, you need to kind of pick up the pace here, because United they look a well-organised side, and we've said this more than once in the podcast. To get through these sides, we need to move the ball with pace and accuracy, and we just seemed very, very laboured. I don't know why, but certainly in the first half it was very, very slow, and we should have been 1-0 up going in. All right, O'Reilly missed the sitter. You can even see that he knew that himself going in at half time, but But other than that, we didn't really put them under a huge amount of pressure. The keeper made a great save from a bad as well, but it wasn't the pace I thought we were going to play it in the first half anyway. Definitely.
Mark, it's like kind of in some games, like it's happened too frequently now with Ange and Celtic. Like there was no threat from Dundee United. Yes, you could see that by their shots on target. There was no shots on target. They were happy to see out the draw. Even when we went down to 10 men, they didn't seem to attack Celtic. You know what I mean? They wanted to hold on for the draw. Like, but Celtic it seems to be an ongoing problem after we can't break down defences, isn't it?
Well, it seems to be we've struggled. We've spoke about it before, Paul. I mean, the times that we've struggled against teams that play like that, but I mean, Seagrass did. He made some good saves again. And I said on the forum, we always talk about it. Celtic came up against it. Aye, but Seagrass, we know for Jonas and Mike, he has a good keepers. He's doing that week in and week out. It's a fair, but I mean, again, I only saw the highlights, Paul, so I don't know how many actual good saves he made. I think I saw at least two or three anyway. Yeah. So it is again a wee bit more clinical in front of goal. Maybe just a wee bit more luck even in front of goal. But it was a massive 3 points. It really, really was yesterday.
Going back to I think when Ange made the changes, Terence, that's what changed the game. Unfortunately, I don't like saying it, but I think again James Forrest was out of the game for me, and when he brought on the changes like Jovanovic, Jota, even young Ben Doak, the game changed. We started getting more balls into things, and we looked better when Abada was through the middle rather than J. Marcus.
Yeah, I think I saw certainly. I don't have Twitter or any of these, but you'd see things when you're looking through the Celtic news. Scales got a fair hammering off people yesterday as well, and I don't think, to be honest, he necessarily deserved it. I don't think he had the best game by any stretch, but I don't think he had the worst game. But I don't think he's helped with James Forrest, who is having a nightmare because when Scales has played and Forrest hasn't been there, if it's been Jota or someone else like that, like he will continuously try and make the overlap. James Forrest, apart from the ball that he put in for O'Reilly, had a very, very poor game again yesterday. And I don't like saying it because obviously he's a Celtic man through and through. He's there for such a long, long time. But it wasn't, as you said, Paul, till Ange made the changes that the pace picked up. And even yesterday, and I don't think Ralston had a very good game, but yesterday, I thought some of his touches were terrible. And maybe that's a case of he's been out of the team for a little bit, but he certainly didn't have a good game by the way he has been playing all along. And as I said, I noticed a lot of people had certainly targeted Scales.
And I agree with you, Terence, what you're saying there, that because I saw it as well, and I found it very unjustified, that they were kind of naming Scales, but anytime Scales trying to make a run, I noticed that Forrest was trying to cut in, or Forrest was kind of putting the ball to the side into the midfield. He never kind of gave the ball to Scales when Scales were trying to overlap him. You know what I mean? I'm getting really concerned with James Forrest in the team. You know?
And I know Scales gave one or two loose passes, but listen, a lot of players did in the first half. As I said, I didn't think Anthony Ralston had a very good game, but I like that, Paul. I thought Scales was overlapping, and I think what highlighted it for me was when Scales was overlapping, Forrest was cutting in. He was generally losing the ball, and Scales was ahead of the ball. So all of a sudden there was space behind him, and Dundee were in, and they made a lot of attacks in the right, coming down the right wing in the first half, which was obviously be Scales aside. So it makes him look bad, But look, Ange saw that maybe he just thought it was the right thing to do.
I think Ange wanted to change the whole left hand side. It wasn't working, so he changed.
I think so too.
Mark, just going back to what Terence is saying there, and we've spoken numerous of times on the podcast about James Forrest, but it hates me for saying it, but we gave Taylor stick, Mark, about his lack of speed kind of fitting into Ange's system and stuff like that, but I honestly think James Forrest has lost that bit of extra speed now, that he actually doesn't fit into Ange's plans, that he's struggling for the pace, the tempo.
100%, Paul. I've said it to you before, we've spoken about it on here. I don't see Forrest being... I don't even really see him being like our main backup winger or nothing, Paul. I think he's... The way he's playing his way down the pecking order instead of up it, basically.
I think he'd struggle for the benchmark at this stage. If you have a full squad there, he wouldn't make the bench.
Probably. I'd say that as well.
It's a big question mark for Ange, right? When Celtic needed a goal, and he's taken off Forrest, and he's bringing on young 16-year-old Ben Doak instead of James Forrest to get that energy that we needed in the attack.
It just sums up the level of Forrest performance, Paul. I mean, when was the last? Obviously, Buzz is your man for this. I don't know if he told me, but when was the last time you can remember Forrest scoring a goal?
I can't, because I'm actually finding him now kind of more selfish. He's playing
again. Like, he became the James Forrest that I used to give pelters to on the forum and that, Paul.
He did score the semi-final, to be fair, in the League Cup when he came on, but I know what you're saying though.
Right, fair dues, but I mean, James Forrest should be he should be he should be thereabouts with the same kind of figures as Abada. He really should be. All our wingers should be chipping in with more goals.
Young Ben Doak, like Terence, when he came on, like, he wasn't afraid to attack players, and it was a big call by Ange, and a brave call to bring on a 16-year-old into a game when we needed to score.
Oh, listen, without a doubt, but my God, was he impressive. I mean, he we've spoken about this, Ange's management is unbelievable, and he's obviously went to that young man and said, listen, I believe in you, I have faith in you, I know you're good enough. Show everyone here how good you actually are. Like, he's 16 years old in 2 months or something like that. I think his birthday was in November, they said. I mean, and every opportunity he gave...
Hold on, sorry to butt in there, Terence. Paul, do us a favour, hang up, bud, and I'll join you back in. There's a buzzing coming through your connection.
My connection?
Aye, sure it's yours.
Yeah, it's definitely not through you.
2 seconds, then I'll just change the... How's that?
I thought, just talk again, Paul, a bit.
How's that one?
Aye, that's a lot better, isn't it? Aye, that's a lot better.
Like, just speaking of Ben Doak, like, still not has signed his first professional contract, Mark, with Celtic. He's still...
And there's a bit of interest in him as well, isn't there? Aye.
Both Manchester City clubs are interested. Liverpool have expressed interest in numerous clubs down England, but we spoke of the importance of Celtic to show these young players they have a pathway into the first team, and I think a brave call by Ange, but I think an important call by Ange, Mark, to bring on this youngster and show him that he's able to get onto the first team at 16 years of age. We're giving him that pathway, and hopefully that, like, he can see that he will have a future at Celtic, Mark, that he can break into the first team, and we're giving him that leadership now, Mark, that he needs to progress his career, isn't it?
Aye, Paul, that's what should be happening. And hopefully, I mean, let's face it, if he'll get down to England, right, he'll make a lot of money, Paul, but he's not going to get into the Man City or Liverpool first team for... No. Let's face it, ever really...
24, Mark, really, like 21, 20, maybe 24.
I mean, I'll be honest, Paul, I'd never heard of this young lad till the other day. Well, I mean, we talk about like young players coming up through the ranks and that. I mean, it was just another name that you kind of saw when you were reading up on Celtic. I didn't know that he was as highly rated in that as he was, to be honest. But hopefully this is a sign of the way Ange is going to like help these young players and show them, as you say, that they've got a future at Celtic. They don't need to leave. They'll get chances in the first team here, which there's a chance they'll not get unless they take a step down. I mean, if they take a step up and what we're talking about, going down to England or that, with one of these big super teams or that, he's not going to get near their first team, and it'll be what, a couple of years in the wilderness with them in their youth team, then he'll go out and loan. Look at Paddy Roberts.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the hottest prospects in England, and it's just, I mean, fair play to him, he's at Sunderland now, but Paddy Roberts should be playing at a lot higher level than Sunderland, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. But we're giving him, Terence, I think, one thing that we've seen on the Ange, and we spoke at Nooms at this times, and he's not afraid to use the youth. I know some matches we had to use because of injuries, but he's always having two players under the age of 18 years. They're always on the bench. They're always in around the first team. He's bringing them into the first team squad. He's letting them train with the first team squad. We were saying there's no pathway, but Ange is changing that culture that's at the club now, isn't he?
Oh, he is definitely, Paul. And it's like what Mark is saying there. Like, I mean, that young lad yesterday, for the however minutes he was on, he was very, very impressive. Mm-hmm. But it's a simple conversation you'd have with him. Do you think you would get a game in the top? You could nearly say in any team in the Premier League. The likelihood is the answer is no. With the greatest respect meant to the young lad, he's 16, but he's going to get chances in. He's going to get chances in Celtic. I mean, if it's a case that if it's Liverpool or Man City or Man United or any of these teams looking at him, there's absolutely, like, it's like Mark said, he'll play in their reserve teams or their underage teams or cold teams or whatever, and he'll nearly be forgotten about. He'll nearly be forgotten about. Whereas he'll get a chance to develop in Celtic, and he'll get a chance to get games, like especially if he performs like that.
Mm-hmm. Just going there to the live chat there, Bobby Saunders says, look at Fuchs. He has stopped playing altogether. I said I think he did, but he popped up in Twitter today, and he spoke about Ben Doak, and he said, if I could give any advice to the young lads, he said, the grass isn't always greener when you're a young lad leaving Celtic. He said, if I had a chance now, I wouldn't have left Celtic at a young age. I would have stayed there and learned my trade, and I would probably be at a bigger team where I am now, Mark. He said that. You know, so like,
fair play to him coming out and admitting that he made a mistake. Do you know what I mean?
Like, you'd be mad, no, Mark, any young lad to go down to the English Premier League. Like, you're not going to get into squad, like, you know.
You're improving your bank balance with a hell of a lot of money, Paul.
Mm-hmm. But you could still do that, Mark, in another, like, if he's 16 and he's played with Celtic and he stayed and he got not regular enough games with Celtic, or he kept him involved in the first team squad, and he moves when he's 20. It's only 4 years down the line. You could all of a sudden get a hell of a lot more money, because if he comes on and he can impress, and as we say there, James Forrest seems to be going further and further away. If this guy steps up, because in 12 months' time, 18 months' time, you could have the likes of Jota gone as well. You know, if he keeps performing the way he's performing, and all of a sudden, if this lad has built up matches and built up time, and all of a sudden you see this guy, he's actually played 30 games or 25 games. Okay, yeah, he's not as inexperienced as a young player you're just thrown in all of a sudden. He's, even if it's 20 minutes here, 15 minutes there, coming on in a cup game or something like that, and all of a sudden you might have a ready-made replacement for one of these guys that leaves. You know what I mean? And that's a huge thing. And if he does that in 20, he's a regular first teamer at Celtic and he's performing good. He can easily get the call down to England, and he'd be on a hell of a lot more money, and he'd have a hell of a lot more experience behind him than if he goes now. Yes, he'll have a bank balance, but if you look at the way O'Reilly done it, he refused the contract at Fulham. He had no club for 6 months. He went to MK Dons because he said he wanted to be first team. He wanted to play regular football. He didn't just want to sign a contract. And he's gone from there now, and he's gone to Celtic. So, you know, there's ways and paths that you can take. So you just have to decide which one is the best.
I think a lot of it depends as well on the advice you're getting, Terence. You know what I mean? I think for us, his family, I think they put a lot of, I mean, we know his background and stuff like that, I'm not getting into it, but I think his family put a lot of pressure on him because I think he was like the main breadwinner out for them kind of idea. Do you know what I mean? The money he would be earning out of football, it was like keeping probably his extended family. Do you know what I mean? So I think that played a big part in that. And if your agent's see, I mean, I'd like to think that it's 16 year. I'd have listened to like my dad. Do you know what I mean? Rather than an agent or that, because all an agent's there is to, they'll make you money, but they're also making themselves money. Everything you make, they get a percentage of it. So agents are always looking for a bigger payday kind of thing. At 16-year-old, I do think it's like your parents and people like that you should really listen to rather than like guys that they're trying to make, trying to make money out of you. Whereas even Celtic, they're looking to make money out of you in a transfer fee and time to come or whatever, but they've still got their welfare at heart. An agent's probably happy enough for a player to get down and sit in Man City's youth team for 2 years when they're 16-year-old and things like that, because they'll be making a wee bit of a wedge out of that. So I think a lot of it does come down to where who the player will pay heed to, pay attention to. And Paul, I think it was Paul said that, or maybe it was you, I'd like to think that Anne's just having words with him as well and telling him the kind of plans that he's got for him and things like that.
And Steve McManus is actually being credited for helping him with this development mark to the Celtic first team, that he was the one who kind of brought him to the attention of Ange in the youth system, and he's helped him along the way gradually up to the first team. Steve McManus, like I'm hearing a lot of great things actually about Steve McManus lately with the youngsters, Mark, and with their development into the first, because he did it himself. Like,
well, that's how, Paul. Who else is better to actually tell them and explain to them what it takes to end up to get to the first team of Celtic?
I just want to talk about the sending off. For me, like it was a second yellow and Beaton had to go, but who do we blame here? Like, you know what I mean? Was there a foul? You could say there was a foul, but like I'm looking at it terms like, and I'm looking at Taylor, and Taylor shouldn't have turned with the ball the way he should have, right into the Dundee United players and caused us that trouble, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's leaving Beaton. Then like Beaton had no choice to take him down. That's my opinion. Beaton, I think, used his experience there to take him down.
Oh yeah, well, like I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Beaton's first yellow card was a professional yellow card, and right, he had to take him out. I think it was Tony Watt at the time when they're on the break. But the second one, there's a foul on Taylor, but Taylor had lost the ball, something similar 5 minutes before that in a similar kind of situation. Now it was a foul, but at the same time, I agree with you. I don't know where Taylor was turning to when he turned into the three Dundee United guys, and he didn't leave Beaton with any option, because the guy was, even though Starfelt was coming across, the natural instinct was Beaton was always going to make a collision with your man, and as soon as he did, he gave the referee no option. Yes, it was a foul on Taylor. The referee missed that. I don't know how he did miss it, but the foul that Beaton gave, he was always going to give him a yellow. So he was unfortunate, but I wouldn't blame him for neither of the 2 yellow cards, because the first one, United run the break, and you'd see that in every game of football when the opposition are breaking. You see the fella give it, basically taking one for the team.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You're taking one for the team, isn't it?
Yeah, you're taking one for the team. You're stopping play straight away. You're going, look, I'll take the yellow card, so be it. I do think the second one, it was a yellow because of the situation, but he's very, very unfortunate. It's poor refereeing from the ref not to see it, but it's poor play from Taylor as well to allow himself to get into that situation.
There's the Irish lads bringing a bit of Roy Keane into the situation, Mark, huh? Not bringing Taylor. Taylor shouldn't have run into that trouble anyway in the first place. But Mark, it's another player missing Wednesday night now, isn't it? Like, it's another player missing, like, but as he said there, like, Beaton took that for the team. Like, I think it was very important that we didn't lose this game yesterday, and I think Beaton knew that, Mark. You know what I mean?
Oh, it was crucial that we didn't lose it, Paul, especially with them dropping points earlier on in the day. And I mean, we left it late, but even a draw would have been like a poor result for us yesterday.
I think that puts more pressure now, Mark, on Rangers, that we scored so late. You know, it puts like this attitude that Ange has, Mark. Like, you could see it so many times this season. Like we don't stop, we never stop. Like, you can see that without the team, like they keep going to get that goal to the end. Like, you know what I mean? You know,
Celtic have done that for years, but Paul as well. Been seen our centenary year, the amount of late winners and that we scored in the centenary year, and I came back to times like that. And it has always been like a Celtic kind of thing. We'll try for the full 90 minutes, and we're back here all grin again. We weren't even trying for the first 89 minutes under Neil Lennon. Do you know what I mean? But it's just put Ange's installing into the team. As long as we're playing, we can always try and score a goal.
I was listening to is it the Clyde radio, Mark, is it? With the fella Hugh Greaves or something, is it that his name is it?
Hugh Keevins.
Yeah. I was listening to him and he was like the Celtic team are showing that they can hack the pressure, Rangers dropping points. We're in the 89th minute and it looks like Celtic are dropping key points here going into the derby on Wednesday. Next it comes up, goal flash, Celtic Park, Abada. And the fella turned around to what you've said to that, and he just said no comment. You know what I mean? So he knew bloody well the importance of this goal, Mark. You know what I mean? To Celtic, and for me, it puts the pressure on Rangers for Wednesday, Mark, because it's going to be a full Celtic Park. You know what I mean? They're the ones who drop points. So the pressure's on them.
Everything's looking good for us getting into it, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? We're playing well, right? Even Ange said he didn't think we played particularly well yesterday in the first half especially. But we still came away with 3 points. And at the end of the day, that's all that kind of matters. And when
you're winning, Mark.
In these crunch games, we're playing well. We're still winning. We've got players out injured. We've got players away with international duty and things like that. They're struggling. Their fans are they're in panic mode. They're in full-on panic mode. And as you say, Paul, we're at home. It's a full crowd, a full packed out Celtic Park under the disco lights. The pressure. This is them under real pressure again. And we know, apart from last year, which I put it down to Celtic folding with it, but we know that they crumble when the pressure's on them. I mean,
that's what I think, Mark, now, because
Tavernier himself says we don't like it when it's in our face.
Yeah, just going to what you're saying there. Like, we've seen it over the years, they crumble when they're under pressure. And I think this is the first time in about a year that they haven't been under pressure. Do you know what I mean? And now that Celtic, Rangers fans, I remember when they were saying when Andrew's coming in, he'd be sacked by Christmas. We're 2 points behind them going into the derby. The momentum's with Celtic. We're going to see the truth of Rangers now. These are the same players, Mark, that bottled it so many years, and we're going to see if they can handle the pressure.
I mean, don't get us wrong, but there's a lot of pressure on our own players as well. Yeah, exactly, you know what I mean? But I think Ange's the type of man. I think Ange will just treat this like any other game, Paul. It'll be like a kind of his own kind of methodical approach to it. I don't think it'll be a kind of tub thumping Neil Lennon rousing kind of. Do you get what I mean? Expect just looking for a bit like a fire in the belly just to carry them through the game. Ange will be looking at this. We go out there and we outplay them just like we do with every other team, and we'll win this.
For times we ran the live chat yesterday, and you could sense the nervousness. We could see the points drifting away.
A big time.
But when the goal went in, everyone knew the importance of that goal. You know what I mean? And it was just a relief to get that goal.
It was unbelievable. I won't even deny it. I was there watching.
We all watched.
I genuinely on the live chat. I says they're bottlers. I genuinely said I put bottlers up. And in fairness, Pedro gave me pelters afterwards, and rightly so. And I said, look, you're dead right. But I could see it. I could not see the goal coming, and I just thought to myself, Jesus.
It looked like one of those days, Terence, didn't it? With Seagas making all these saves and stuff like that and everything.
I know, but
decisions going away. And
what I thought, Paul, was a little bit back to the Livingston game, where if Celtic had won, they'd have gone top of the table, and they didn't win. And then I thought, and this is a chance that Rangers were drawn, so Celtic win, they're going to get in with 2 points of Rangers. I'm thinking, this is another chance, and I was saying, Jesus, don't tell me we're not going to take this. I couldn't believe it, And then when the goal went in, my dad was here, and he's not into any football, and he goes, "Hey, who are you watching? You watching them again?" Yeah. And sure, the goal went in, and I was lapping around the place, but he was like, "Jeez, we watching me tell him cop on to himself." But like, it's just, yeah, I genuinely couldn't see it, but it changes the whole momentum of Wednesday. Like, if Celtic had dropped points, Rangers would have been back more confident. Whereas the Celtic with that late goal, all of us, like, it's amazing. Like, 2 late goals, one for either side, and it completely transforms the whole match for Wednesday. Now, Ange did say, in fairness to him, he said regardless of the result, he said if Celtic do win, he says we're a point ahead. He says they don't give out trophies in February. That's what he said. That's
he's
basically
keeping
what he
it level-headed, like, in fairness to him, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And doesn't kind of put that pressure on his team either, Terence, does he? You know.
No, but he's basically saying if we win on Wednesday, we go a point ahead. There's no trophies given out. There's still plenty of games to go.
He's kind of playing it down, isn't he? But it's just giving it the kind of, it's another 3 points if we win on Wednesday and things like that.
Yeah.
I love the way you deal. I love the way you deal with the press. I really do. I think it's a breath of fresh air for Celtic fans to get somebody like that in.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's like when he was back saying when Rangers were a good few points ahead, and he says, "Oh, I thought they got the trophy in October." You know, so like he seems to be like a fella who had a career in PR. Do you know what I mean? In relations, he just knows exactly what to say at the right time, and he knows how to say it. And there's, you know, he's just, and as he'll have the team, the team will be well fired up. You won't need to fire the team up, but it's like he says, he just plays it down so well. Like, he does it so well.
Looking at the month of January, because we started off on Monday the 17th with a 2-0 win at Hibs. Mida and Jovanovic on the score sheet. Alloa in the League Cup. Celtic winning yesterday 2-1 against Dundee United. But Mark, it just wasn't today that we're seeing kind of Rangers kind of crumbling under a bit of pressure, dropping points to Aberdeen as well after coming back from the winter break and stuff like that. Like, so Celtic are kind of kept on their toes in this month of January. Where they're dropping points, Celtic are kept the winning ways up. Like, so it's not just yesterday the pressure's on them. Like, we've kept pressure on them throughout January, didn't we?
Aye, well, that's all we really could do. You know what I mean? I know it's a bit of a cliche, but just like concentrate on what we're doing, kind of thing.
But you have to take notice, though, Mark, don't you? In fairness, like, you know,
the players in that day,
but Rangers dropped points.
Oh, definitely be aware of that. But we still need to go and do our job, Paul. That's what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? So, if we win, see the ways it sits now, Paul. If we win every game between now and the end of the season, we've won the league.
But what I thought, Mark, like, and let's go back to what Terence is saying, right? Like, they were all aware of the result yesterday. The fans were aware of it. The fans were getting behind the team because the fans knew the importance of it. But I can't get into my head, like, the slow tempo of the start against Dundee United yesterday. Like, is it the players, Mark, that were on the pitch that are bringing this slow tempo in because the likes of Yasser, Kyogo, Mida, Callum McGregor are all missing? Like, is it because the players that are missing and the players that are coming in aren't suited, Mark, to this tempo, do you think?
Well, just put it maybe doing it a bad day at the office, maybe, Paul.
I mean, nerves, Mark?
Maybe be a wee bit nerves kicking in, but I mean, you can't play pure breathtaking swashbuckling football all the time. Do you know what I mean? So, the way I'm looking at it, wasn't the best performance, but we gave away with the 3 points, and that was the most important thing.
Because I was looking at, we tried to get Jonas on tonight, but he wasn't. Like, but Jonas was actually surprised the way Dundee United played, Terence, after the sending off, that they still sat back to get the draw instead of attacking.
I was surprised the other night on the podcast, Paul. I thought it would have been a lot more of an open game.
I thought they were. I
really did.
I was surprised, Mark, the way they, like, compared to like the 2 games we played against Dundee, like they attacked us, like, and they had their chances back in the 2 games we played against them, and like not one shot on target yesterday. Like, I was very surprised that coach yesterday playing that kind of system when we don't Dundee United playing that, you know. And I think he's under pressure, Mark, coach, now.
Oh, they won in midweek, didn't they? I think that's their first win in
4 or 5 games.
And they were 1-0 down against Ross County in the midweek game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether they seemed like a team, Paul, that was trying to hit Celtic on the break. And I don't know, it appeared that they seemed to be happy enough to try and soak up the pressure. They knew Celtic needed to score. So whether their mentality was, well, look, Celtic are going to have to push forward. Like, certainly in the second half, we on a lot of occasions just left one man back. Pretty much. The amount of time Starfelt
But
was
it
just
keeps
marked.
on in those terms, doing it like that.
Well, that was what
The game should have been over. Do you know what I mean? We shouldn't be waiting till the
We talk
90
about
minutes to get a goal. Do you know
but
what I
we
mean?
talk about we need to find a way to break through these teams that
But
play
we
like
want,
that, Paul.
that's the thing, Mark,
But we
are
did.
breaking through them.
But we did. Do you know what I
Okay,
mean? We
we're going-
eventually did yesterday, kind of thing.
through some good saves and stuff like that, but you go through the other way, like in saying like Giamarcus and Rice should be putting away those shots, Terence. Do you know what I mean?
I know, but you're right. You're right to an extent. But in fairness, Paul, Seagrass' save from Giamakis is
and I
absolutely
definitely think
out of this
we're
world.
definitely missing a trick here with him, Mark, aren't we?
But you couldn't bring him, Paul. How could you bring him?
No,
He's not going to sit on the bench.
No.
Scott Baines just extended his contract, and Seagrass isn't going to come and be happy to sit on Celtic's bench.
Oh, he's not going to sit on the bench, Mark. And like
No.
he's a regular every week, Paul. Like the likelihood is that he'll go somewhere else, and ideally not the other crowds. I know the other crowd's backup keeper. Apparently, I saw he signed again. So I don't know what his name is. Anyway, doesn't matter. So hopefully
McCrory. McLaughlin.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that fella. Care about him anyway. But ideally, Seagrass doesn't go there because he's a really, really good keeper in any game, regardless of whether he plays in Celtic. He's a good keeper. And like, if we hadn't Joe Hart, and someone said we were signing him as our first team goalkeeper, I know I'd be happy with him in the goals. I'm sure a lot of other lads would maybe in the form would be the same because he's a very good shot stopper. But it's not. But it's like Mark said though, Paul. I didn't think they were going to break him down yesterday. Thank God they did. But they kept going and it was a lovely ball in by Jota, a fabulous touch by Abada, and a fabulous finish. It was just, it was relief all around, and it wasn't something that we were able to do against Livingston. It wasn't something we were able to do against St. Mirren, but thankfully we managed it yesterday. But the tempo when certain players came on picked up as well, and that makes a huge difference. When Jota came on, when the young that Dokes lad came on, when Juranovic came on, you could see the pace just stepped up. But like it was saying, the only thing what I'd say, Paul, is like what you were saying there to Mark. A couple of the players had a bad day at the office yesterday. I didn't think Rio was as good as he was during obviously the Hearts game. Maybe he was a bit more tired. He felt to me like he was playing an awful lot more out to the left than he was in the middle. But maybe I was looking at Giacomakis' first touch at times.
It was Terence. It was.
It would remind you of Jack the Ripper. It was horrendous.
Like you saw him, and I thought like that was one of his main benefits was that he's able to hold up the ball, but his touch, they hold up the ball. It was very heavy.
Like his first touch was a touch. His second touch was a tackle. Like in some cases, it was very, very poor.
And you could get it booking easy for those type of tackles, Terence, if you missed the ball.
He could, and the problem was he was losing it so quickly. It was coming back into Dundee United again. You know what I mean? So yeah, look, players had a bad game. Forrest didn't play well. Obviously, I don't think maybe Scales. I didn't think Ralston had a good game. So all in all, it's an amazing. How about
Starfelt? What did you make of him? I said I only seen highlights, kind of thing.
I think he had a cracking game again. I think himself and Vickers had a cracking game.
Himself and Vickers had the most touches again, Mark.
There was folk on the forum moaning about Starfelt again today. I couldn't even answer because I never see.
And I can't believe it, Mark, because every game Starfelt and Vickers are key to the way Celtic play because they have the most touches. So we're playing out through them.
But
he's ready to hit. Tony Watt's a big defender. Tony Watt was living off nothing yesterday. Starfelt had Tony Watt in the back of his pocket, Terence.
He did, and the one thing I've noticed about Starfelt, certainly since he's come back in the Hearts game and yesterday, he seems to have got an awful lot more physical. He seems to be getting, like, if there's a ball coming and there's two fellas there, he's kind of nearly cleaning out fellas.
Maybe he's realised that he can do that in Scotland and get away with it, Terence, you know what I mean? Maybe he's just learning that. You've just some of these tackles that when they've got
between European referees.
Aye, maybe that's what he's just kind of.
It's a physical bite to the game, like in there.
Aye, maybe he's just kind of twigged that he can put in these kind of tackles that would maybe be a foul playing in Europe, but you'll get away with it in Scotland.
Like, I can't believe, Mark, people are saying, get Julian back. Like, Terence yourself. Like, I'm shocked people are saying, get Julian this team as fast as we can. I would not drop neither one of them, Starfelt or Vickers, for Julian.
Like, even at the start of the game, Paul, where Dundee went down the left wing, he whipped in a great ball. And the Dundee United fella got there. But Starfelt came in and cleared it. He kind of came in, the two of them together, and he knocked it out for the corner. People have just got a whipping boy, and he's one of them. And it doesn't matter what he does. And there's one or two lads, and there's one lad in particular in the forum, and he has it in for him big time. No matter what he does. Like, I mean, the game against Hearts.
Name and shame him, Terence.
Oh, Chalky 67 hates that. He hates Starfelt. Like,
I think it was him that posted that today again. I think now that you say that.
I mean, did he not watch the game against Hearts? The clearance, the tackle that Starfelt made, where the ball was whipped in. I mean, I'm all on for saying if a fella's had a bad game, you say, look, a fella's had a bad game. No
13 clean sheets we have since Starfelt's into team.
But what I would say, Paul, is fellas are pointing at Starfelt there yesterday again, and why I don't know. But no one has. Were the same people hammering Greg Taylor? Were the same people hammering Scales? Were the same people hammering Ralston? All three of them would have been far way worse than. I thought Starfelt again could have comfortably been up there with man of the match.
We saw how Julian struggles against the high ball there sometimes in defence. We saw that numerous times the seasons, Mark. Julian was struggling for high balls. Like, he can't play against a physical striker. And for me, Tony Watt can play dirty. And if he's not getting his way, Tony Watt can be a dirty player. But Starfelt had him in the back of his pocket yesterday. I want to speak about Abada, Mark. 12 goals, 8 assists. Was it 9 assists? No, I think. But my God, Mark, 20 years of age, and we're talking about how James Forrest has lost a bit of pace, but there's no way James Forrest is going to get into this starting lineup if Jota and Abada are fit.
No. As I said, Paul, I don't even know if he'd be a fully fit squad, Paul. I don't even know if Forrest would make a bench.
Yeah, like, he's really found his mojo back again, Mark, hasn't he? Abada.
Aye, you know? He did a wee spell there that he was awfully quiet in games. He didn't really seem to do much in that, Paul, but he's back to being that was just after he came back for an injury. And did he have a COVID issue as well, Abada?
COVID issue as well, with that time around Madison, that time, Mark, as well, yeah.
Said a wee kind of lull in his performances for it was a few weeks, to be honest. But he's certainly get his mojo back now and showing again the form that he was showing when he first came in. I think he's a cracking player.
Terence.
He's got his pace back as well. Big time.
Like, he's beating men again, Terence, isn't he? He's not. Remember, we were saying there the last few times that he seemed to be kind of doing the James Forrest, and he seemed to be cutting in a lot, trying to cut in. No, he's gone down to the byline and he's beating the players. Like, this is what we want him to do. Do you know what I mean?
The St. Johnson game was the first game that I saw that I thought to myself, he looks like he's 2 yards quicker. He looks like he's 2 yards quicker than he had been for 4 or 5 weeks. He was way off the pace. And he definitely looks like he's back to the Abada that we had at the start, where basically he's getting the ball and roasting the winger and going down, or roasting the fullback and going down, and he whipped in great balls. And as regards James Forrest, just quickly, Paul, I'd have that young Ben Dokes on before I'd have Forrest.
Yeah. Like, if I was James Forrest, like, and like, Mark, if we're getting taken off for a 16-year-old in a must-win game for Celtic that we need.
It's not as if you're taking them off 10 minutes to go and we're 3-0 up and give the young guy a wee run out in the park. No, it's.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like Forrest must be like, if I was James Forrest, I was going, like, I need to get my act back together here. I need to, like, I don't know, Mark, can he get back? Because, like, and it's unfortunate because this season more so than other seasons, Mark, he's been hit by a lot of injuries.
He's had a lot of injuries even through his career, really, Paul. I mean, what age is he now? 30?
He could push down 30, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Forrest. Even
that's the age for a ringer, Mark, when you start kind of losing a bit of pace.
You maybe even start maybe looking at playing some games in the middle and things like that, isn't it? But I can't really see Forrest playing through the middle either. Can you?
No, really can't. Like, you know, like especially Mark when he only has 1 foot. If you're going playing through the middle, you kind of need a 2 feet, really, don't you?
I mean, is Forrest going to be happy to be a bit part player at Celtic?
Yeah,
that's another. I mean, it's not even. I mean, Forrest will be in a good wage as well, Paul. He'll be one of the highest.
Second highest. He's second highest, Mark. Yeah.
So
the third highest. Sorry.
Casey, maybe it's time for Forrest to get moved on in the summer.
You know,
but the way you spoke, I mean, Forrest wants to play Celtic all his career. But if you're not playing.
But we have to think about Celtic, like not about James Forrest, like Joe, and I think that's a question for Ange and the board. Like, do they keep him on just because he's a legend and?
But you've got to give him a chance to prove himself. But we can't just turn around. I mean, it's only January. Ange is only here 6 months. In 6 months' time, we could be sitting raving about the turnaround in James Forrest.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, he needs.
So
I think James Forrest needs to get into his head like that. He needs to get.
He needs to work hard. He'll need to work hard and get. Well, I thought you don't think he looks a bit out of shape, Paul?
Yeah, I thought he looked maybe
a wee bit heavy in the boat.
Yeah, I was looking at there, Mark, on Twitter, and it showed James Forrest 2019. He looks slimmer, and in 2022, his face looks heavier. He looks heavier, a lot heavier, Mark, than what he was. You know, maybe that's. I
don't think it's muscle. Do you know? I don't think it's muscle. I don't think he's bulked up.
That weight, like, you know what I mean? Can he? You know, he can't hold the weight or something. You know.
I'm sure Ange is around the block long enough, and he'll know how long James Forrest is there, and he'll know the whole scenario with James Forrest. He'll give James Forrest, as Mark is saying, he'll give James Forrest time, but it might be this season, it might be into next season, it might be the start of next season. But if he doesn't think he's up to speed, and I'm not comparing like with like here, but he might just turn around and go like a la Lee Griffiths. I'm not saying it's like for like, but
cutting my losses.
Going back to fitness,
yeah.
Like, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just kind of going. Listen, look, pal, you're not up to speed. What I need you to be. You're not quick enough. You're not fit enough.
You're not going to be my plans moving forward.
Yeah. If you want to be here, you can be here, but you'll be a bit part player. You'll be in now and again. You might be on the bench 1 week. You might be on for 3 weeks. If you're happy with that, that's great. If you're not, then you need to leave.
Sorry, Paul. Then for me, Terence, it's a case of, well, it's down to the money. I mean, if you're only, should Celtic be paying bit part players the best part of 20 odd grand a week?
That's what I'm saying, Mark. Like, are you paying one of your top players to sit in the bench? Do you know what I mean?
But if he gets on the bench, Paul, that's what we're saying.
Exactly, yeah.
It could be. Is his contract up? Is his contract up for renewal, or is his contract for another few years?
No, he signed a kind of a new.
He's not long signed a new one.
Yeah.
Well, then in that situation, Ange will just have to go to him. Listen, you're getting well paid here. You need to.
2023's new contract. It's 2023's contract runs out terms. He's got 2.5 years left on it.
Okay. Well, then maybe I don't know. Maybe Ange has to go, give him the benefit of the doubt. He's been injured. He didn't do pre-season. All the rest of it. See if he can get back. But I agree with you what you're saying, Mark. He does look like he's a couple of cheeseburgers in him. You know what I mean?
I think one player I want to speak of, and showed it last season when we used 3 keepers in one season, and we've seen the importance of having a good keeper this season with Cal McGregor making those horrendous blunders yesterday, Mark. And I looked up Hart this week, and Hart has 11 clean sheets, Mark, out of 20 games so far this season. Now, bear in mind he hasn't much doing some games, Mark, but they're still clean sheets, and it's his experience that's setting down this defence. And
it's him the central defensive partnership,
That's like
Paul.
saying,
I mean,
yeah,
it's that wee unit that's
it's
doing its job. Aye.
it's his experience, Mark, that's bringing in this unity within this defensive unit. You know,
And
like,
we spoke about it as well last season, Paul, when you're chopping and changing and you have different partnerships playing every week and that, there's no time to build up that kind of understanding and partnership that they three seem to have.
you know, like 11 clean sheets, Mark, it's impressive considering what we went through last season, isn't it? You know, and bear in mind our keepers are getting very little to do, Mark, and when he is called upon, he's there. Do you know what I mean? You know?
That's just his professionalism, Paul.
Yeah.
As I said, Celtic keepers don't usually have a lot to do during games,
Exactly.
but when they need to keep their concentration, because when they are called upon, they need to make these saves. You know what I mean? Maybe
I think
with one or
he's
two
key, Mark,
saves
for
to make
Wednesday
a game.
as well, Mark, with amount of injuries you have and kind of experienced players missing, like Hart could be key as well to Wednesday's game as well. You know?
A tale of two keepers.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Paul, Joe Hart has played with so many big teams.
Exactly.
He's been in a similar situation when he was at Celtic, when he was at Man City. The majority of the time, they'd had the ball. He would have too many shots to make. Even with England would be a very good side, and they would have generally been on playing lesser sides.
England would go till they put Harry McGregor into that defence.
Yeah, but they're normally playing San Marino or someone like that.
No. Exactly.
But he's constant. He has obviously the professionalism that, whether it was with Man City or whatever, he was always on a team that was highly offensive, and there wasn't many shots on him. So he's obviously so well trained himself to be able to go. He's into action now, bang, and he can deliver when it needs to do it, like, you know.
I think it helps as well the amount of feel like we play the kind of sweeper keeper role.
Yeah.
She is involved in a lot more kind of starting off moves and stuff like that,
Well,
and probably we
like,
were used to seeing under somebody like with Fraser Foster or that in goal.
Like, people questioned his footwork, Mark, and I know we had a few dodgy moments, but like, that's one of the reasons he was moved on from Man City, but he went off to Italy then to practice that. But like, he's confident enough on his feet, like the way Celtic want to play, like, you know what I mean?
He's impressed me and surprised me, to be honest, Paul, with the way he can control it with his feet and that. I mean, he just says there's been a few hairy moments, but he's got away with them, sir. And he seems to be enjoying it as well. Do you know what I mean? He seems. He seems happy and settled. But it does. He seems to be.
Yesterday, like, you see him down knees, like it was like the Craig Organ celebration in the cup that time.
I mean, probably hard maybe be out there, Paul, saying I can't actually believe that I'm playing for a club besides the Celtic in this stadium at my age.
My age, yeah.
Exactly. But we said they could have went out to Italy with Mourinho, Paul, and sat on the bench for him. You know what I mean? Mourinho wanted to take him out there, or even Spurs, they could have maybe stayed at Spurs than just been what he was doing at Spurs kind of thing. But if the chance, I mean, we're going about having young players to grasp the chance to play for a club like Celtic. But if you're at that, especially if you're at that kind of time, we're saying with Joe Hart, his age, probably a lot of people were saying Joe Hart should probably retire, or even just, if he's going to play, he'll get down to the Championship. I mean, let's not be kidding. Joe Hart could be playing the Champions League again next year for Celtic.
Yeah, exactly.
And at his age, he'll you get what I mean? Never.
Yeah.
Probably when he left Man City, he probably thought he would never play in the Champions League again in his life.
Well, he wasn't going to do with Tottenham anyway, so.
And only at Celtic will probably get into the Champions League and struggle to get out the group stages and that, but it's still the Champions League. It's the place that people want to be.
There's no Celtic on Europe. Even it's going to be special on Wednesday night, like underneath the floodlights, having the derby,
Wednesday should be a good spectacle. I just wish
we'll talk about that. Moving on. So moving on, is something Mark brought to my attention during the week. Should Celtic distance themselves from alcohol and gambling advertising around the stadium on match days and on their jerseys? There's far against it with the revenue coming into the club. Mark, I'll start with you first. I
don't really mind it much, Paul, about the stadium and things like that, but I don't think it shouldn't be like our main sponsorships. It really shouldn't be. I mean, it would be going back to don't know if you are old enough to remember this, but like Formula One cars and that, they used to allow like tobacco sponsorships and that. And
Marlboro was beyond the Rotmans used beyond the
aye,
Williams, I think, wasn't it? Yeah.
Aye, I mean, you wouldn't let Benson and Hedges sponsor the league.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it's alright to take sponsorship money for alcohol and gambling, and we know the problems that the gambling and alcohol cause people. You know what I mean? I think it's something I've thought about it early years and that, and I've always thought that it's something Celtic shouldn't openly be looked to be encouraging. I know it's worth money, but surely there's a better classy company out there. No, I don't mean, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, kind of ethical kind of route to get down. If it's Celtic have got on the front of their jerseys and stuff like that.
Because I know Terence here in Ireland, they are clamping down on that advertising, drinking, kind of gambling at sport venues at the moment. Like, do you think it's a road that Celtic should go down?
It's a hard one to say, Paul. Look, I don't bet, so it's all known to me. I drink very rarely, but the only thing I would see with it is the problem is that are Celtic in a position that they cannot consider taking these sponsorships in regards to, like, a lot of, you know, we don't get a huge amount of television revenue. It's mainly sponsorship deals. Are Celtic reducing their pool and saying, okay, we won't get sponsored by this group and this group? Is there group that can sponsor them, then a very, very small group of, I don't want to say individuals or companies or organizations? Does it then make them harder to try and get a sponsor? That's what I'm saying. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's just nonsense. But
I'd get Dermot Desmond's companies to advertise sponsors.
Well, you look in the European matches when we were sponsored by
in France, you're not allowed to advertise alcohol on jerseys in France.
Yeah, we what left to do, we had to put on the Celtic Foundation. Even with Daft Best, we had to put on the Celtic Foundation. So you can see kind of football as a whole that they're going to kind of gradually kind of.
I think eventually there will be rules brought in about it, Paul. I honestly do, and I will agree with them. I 100% back that. I just think it's something.
JP McManus to sponsor like Sport in Limerick or something in front of the jerseys. That'd be grand.
Aye, but you could. I mean, you really could.
But does it, Matt? But does it encourage a young kid, 16 years of age, who's at a match and he sees a Ladbrook sign up and a thing, free bet, free €60 bet? Like, is it encouraging a young lad to open up an account with Ladbrokes and start betting, do you think?
Probably is, Paul. Well, right, see when Celtic were sponsored by Carlin, right, the pub I drank in at the time started stocking Carlin, and everybody in the place was drinking Carlin as if it was going out of fashion. And I don't know, I've not been in a pub for years, but I don't think Carlin's a big drink up in Scotland anymore. But at the time when they were sponsoring Celtic and Rangers, it was massive. So I think if you're a young lad and you're going to get into gambling, well, you're going to go for daft a bit because you're on Celtic's top. You think you're helping Celtic out kind of that way and things like that. So it will influence them, Paul.
That could be, like, you made a good point there, like that. Like, some people think as a young lad, like, your mindset, Mark, would think like that, oh, if I open up a bet with Daft Bet, that's helping Celtic, you know what I mean, because they're sponsored Celtic. It doesn't work like that. No,
it doesn't, but if you're a young lad, that's what you think. It's like us sitting there drinking Carlin for 12 hours every Saturday, Paul. Do you know what I mean? We think, they're sponsoring Celtics every pint we're having, Celtic and that. But
and what is in the grounds? Like, are you left drinking in the grounds, like sitting down and
no,
stuff
no, in Scotland, no. In the snobby bit behind the scenes where you get a meal in that before the game, you can get a pint at half time, but you're not allowed to drink actually in the grounds in Scotland, Paul.
All. There's enough nutcases in the ground without the drink involved as well.
Unless you, you've got two choices. We used to have what we called Bovril. We used to buy Bovril and mix it with vodka, or we used to buy the big cups of Coca-Cola, and you'd get into the toilet and pour the Coca-Cola and fill them up with Buckfast. So you were just sitting there doing that, but you were just passing these cups of Bovril and Buckfast all along the line all game and things like that. So I mean, obviously there's ways around it, but if you get caught, you're papped out and you're good chance you'll lose your season ticket for it, know what I mean? But there's this talk again of them trying to bring alcohol back into the Scottish grounds, but
that'd be a bad move.
Like a big club, Mark, is like maybe Celtic can kind of get away with not taking these sponsorships from alcohol and gambling stuff. But you look at the smaller clubs, Mark, around football and stuff like that. You look at, if we say St. Mirren, Hamilton, and the likes of Aberdeen at the moment and stuff like that, like who lost money due to COVID. Like, surely these clubs actually need that sponsorship, Mark, to get them. You know.
But
I'm just looking at it.
But Paul, but there's the thing about it is, Paul, there's a reason that these companies are sponsoring football teams, Paul, because that
they want the influence, yeah.
Aye, that's it. That's the Celtic football supporters are their targeted audience. That's why there's so much of them want to sponsor clubs and things like that, because the fans are the target audience for them, and that's so there. I mean, I don't know how to put this into words now, man. They're targeting you as it's the type of brainwash you into buying these goods because it's related to Celtic, whether it is alcohol, whether it's something.
Should we look at like? I
mean, there must be. There's
Celtic do like they do a half-time lottery and stuff like that. The winner gets a prize. Then within Celtic, like, should that be stopped as well by the club? Like that, they're encouraging people then to play like a lottery like that. That's gambling, like, isn't it?
I think that's a bit nitpicky, Paul, to be honest.
But that's what people are going to say. Like, do you get me? Like, it's all coming together as one. Like, you know what I mean? It's largely is gambling.
That's a type of gambling. I know what you're saying.
You know, like that's going to encourage a young lad, Mark, to buy a ticket for the halftime raffle and stuff like that. Like, and that's going to just get him started. Then going into the likes of Ladbrokes and you know what I mean, and like, does it start off like that? You know.
Well, if that's how it needed to go, then aye.
Mark, so being neutral, like, you know what I mean, but. You know,
I'm not saying Celtic should go all saintly and take money. And I mean, even mind Barcelona used to have a UNICEF sponsor, and then it was at the Saudi Arabian airline. They waved a few pound in front of them, and they've got them in front of them. But I mean, there's not only gambling and alcohol companies. There's thousands of companies all over the world clubs could approach. I mean, Aberdeen's got a booming oil business. You know what I mean? There's rich companies up there all because of oil money and that.
And especially, you know, Mark, if Celtic want to, with our 4 players now from Japan, like, sure to God, there's a big company over in Japan, like Honda or Hyundai or things like that we could.
And you could even approach Japanese companies or anything.
Yeah. You know, we might know what the sponsor says, like, but we still get it, like.
But Paul, if you look at regardless of the 4 lads from Japan, if you look at Dermot Desmond's connections, Dermot Desmond, JP, he'd have Robert, he'd have Sangster, he'd have Magner, he'd have all the Horsey boys, and they're the people that you would know. What about the people that you don't know? So they'd have bucket loads of people, and they all have JP McManus is on like sensational companies and golf courses, and sure they own Sandy Lane in Barbados, luxury hotel.
That's what I was thinking of. That's the name it tells. I was trying to get the name of that. Why not just have like Sandy Lane resorts on the front of our top or something?
That's a good point you made there, because look at Man City, like, and they're sponsored by the Emirates.
But that's their owners. You know, but that's
what I'm saying. Like,
that's that kind of way.
Should we be like David Desmond? Should be kind of putting his own companies sponsoring Celtic, that he can put money through his company, Denmark, into Celtic, like, you know what I mean?
Aye, that's what all these the Qatari and Saudi Arabian teams are doing, your PSGs, your Man Cities and that.
That's how they're getting money into the club now.
Aye, they're signing all these I mean, the kind of sponsorship deal isn't worth the money they're paying for it. And like the kind of advertising aspect of things. But it's just a way of them putting money into the club. But in terms of just the amount of contacts that Dermot Desmond must have in the business world and things like that, they should just, even if you don't ask the question, Paul, you'll never know. Do you get what I mean?
Exactly.
But if you look at down here, Mark, every couple of years there's the JP McManus Pro-Am. Golf Classic, and I've caddied in it once or twice. I caddied it for Martin. I've caddied it for Martin O'Neill the last time it was on here.
Wow!
And if you see the people that are at this, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Professional soccer players and everything like
but
international players.
That Dave King, him that owns Rangers, he caddies in the tournaments, doesn't he, Terence?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I know it's a bit dodgy, but it's basically the guys
going around with a sponsor card for Rangers.
No, did they not caddy for that Gary player at the US Open or something like that, Terence?
Wow. I think he did, yeah. I think he did, because he's obviously South African based, Jermaine King, and obviously Gary Player is the South African.
Aye. So that shows you the level of folk that are turning up to these events.
But it's even if you take the professional soccer players out of it now, because they were all there, Harry Redknapp, Jamie Redknapp, all that. I'm talking about the business people.
Yeah.
Like the Sangsters were there, Robert Magner was there, like Dermot Desmond was there. I mean, you're talking
Billionaires.
Like
these fellas are richer than the footballers themselves, Terence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, these are billionaires, Paul. They're not millionaires. These are billionaires. Like, I mean, JP McManus bought Adair Manor for 35 million. Like, you know, and that's Sandy Lane place. You can't even go inside the gate of it. Like,
I always dreamt, Terence, that when they all fell out at Man United or that horse. I wanted. What is it? The Coolmore Mafia, they call them, into it. I was praying that they all just says, "I'm going to go and just take your Celtic and see what we can do with them."
Oh yeah, like I mean, like the JP McManus, his house is out the road here in Limerick, and oh my, it's I think it was 100 million or something to build it. I'd known his wife from the golf club, and lads were out in the house and the whole lot, and they're very lovely Northern people. But like Dermot Desmond has sensational context. Maybe I'm wrong in what I was saying earlier on, Mark, about the whole sponsorship thing. But like he has so many different contexts. Maybe they could have say Sandy Lane on the front of the jerseys instead of the betting one and Magners and the drink and the whole lot. But these guys have more money than most people will ever even imagine, you know, and more connections than anyone will imagine.
What about going down the road of renaming the stadium, Mark, to bring in income into the, like, we're sponsored by Adidas now, like, what about the Adidas stadium? Or
I'd be quite happy with stuff like that. Because people, you can't get loads.
People will still call it Celtic Park.
It's still because Celtic Park. People still call it Parkhead. And it's not. I mean, that's Celtic Park. It's called Parkhead, and it's never called Parkhead.
Yeah, still kind of called it Parkhead. Yeah.
I mean, it's really. Do you think? Well, saying that, people have started like calling the Arsenal Stadium like the Emirates and things like that, didn't it? And the Etihad, so they're kind of doing in England going for that. But that's probably a bit of kind of driven to the sponsorship and the money. That would probably be part of the deal that they need to get that into the normal conversations about the game to keep the sponsorship and advertising going with it, that the stadiums became known as the kind of things. But for the right amount of money, I wouldn't bother my backside. What Celtic Park was good, unless it was, as long as it's not something stupid. Do you know what I mean?
Terence, what would your thoughts on that?
I'd be of the same opinion, Paul, because you'll always know this. Like, I'd be like you, Paul, Parkhead or Celtic Park or Paradise. Always going to be known as that, whether if it was called the Toyota Arena or whatever, whoever sponsored it, for argument's sake, if you're talking about the Japanese side of things, it's always going to be known as Celtic Park to the people that go there, regardless if there was a name change due to sponsorship. And it'd be the same all around the world. I'm sure there's down in maybe Cork City, if there's certain stadiums down there are changed. I know Thomond Park up here, I'm not even sure what it's called, but it's sponsored by some crowd, but it's known as Thomond Park for the rugby ground, and it's always going to be known as Thomond Park, regardless of who sponsors it. So Celtic Park could be the same. Like,
I mean, see, about Hamilton, we don't even call Aki's Park Douglas Park or whatever. I think that's been sponsored that many times. I'm not sure. It was actually the CBD Stadium or something for a while. But people in Hamilton just really call it Aki's Park. And that's all it's been known as for years. Even the old stadium, it was Aki's Park, and now it's still called just down. If you're getting directions, you'll say, it's down at Aki's Park. I mean, it's just names. Fans are just going to call. The fans are just going to call it whatever they've always called it, Paul. And if it's making his money, fair dues.
Like it's looking like if you like what you said there, like the sponsorship and stuff like that. And if we're looking at different avenues to make up the difference of kind of.
I'm surprised Celtic's not looked into it, Paul.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you think of it, like if you want to distance us from likes of alcohol and gambling, like, and how do we generate this new revenue? Like it's an easy option, Mark, like for revenue to bring into the club. Like the naming rights of a stadium. Like every club, Mark, I think most clubs now actually kind of do that now. Like, you know, I mean, they sell the naming rights of their stadiums. You know.
It's a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Paul, it's definitely something Celtic should be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Just for an avenue to raise your income.
Yeah, without doubt.
And I guarantee you, Paul, if you look at, you're talking about the Japanese lads' influence. I guarantee if you looked at, I don't know their stadiums, but I guarantee if you looked at the name of their stadiums, it's probably going to be a Toyota. There's probably going to be.
But the team's not owned by them.
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
Is it no? I think so. I think you're right, Terence, but I think it's because a lot of the teams are actually owned by the companies. Like PSV, they've just got the Philips Stadium into it, that because it's Philips that own them kind of thing and that. But I'm sure in Japan it's the same kind of idea.
It's probably the same situation that teams own, and their stadium is named after the company. Like
also, it's like over in Japan as well. Their shirt is full of sponsors. You can barely see the jersey. so much sponsors in them. Moving on, with the gap now closed down to 2 points. It's another must-win game for Celtic. But I think the pressure now has turned on Rangers after Celtic's victory over Dundee United yesterday, and with Rangers drawing 3-3 at Ross County. The tables have turned, Mark, and most, I think, the tables have turned on Alan McGregor at the moment. You know, he's not the saviour that he has been for Rangers the last couple of seasons, Mark. He's really, this season, seems to be making a lot of mistakes for Rangers, don't he?
Aye. Yeah. He's definitely not the keeper that he was over the last couple of years, Paul.
They were basic saves yesterday, Mark. Like when you see those goals, like, you know, they were like, yeah, you know. And I think, Mark, if we
maybe check his betting account.
Yeah, but if we get down, Mark, if Celtic, it's key, Mark, that Celtic get the ball down the wings. I think against Rangers, down the wings and get crosses in.
Crosses in.
Test
Shot foot side the box and things like that, Paul.
Yeah. You know.
I remember. It's a coach of ours before, when fellas used to be dropping the balls and just going to McGregor, he'd be going, "His hands like tits." But it's like what you said. They need to test him. They need to fireball. He looked. I only saw the few minutes of it. I wouldn't ever really watch them. I just saw the last goal in particular. And the last goal, he was all over the place. He doesn't look a patch.
But even at that, Mark, like you're guaranteed that Tavernier and Barsic, they want to push up. They want to push up the wings, and like there's going to be space for Yossa and Abada to create these chances for G Marcus, like if G Marcus is going to be playing, like, so, like, I expect Celtic to have loads of possession in this game, and my biggest worry though is the midfield at the moment, Mark. You still think that
McGregor,
restart?
I think he will, Paul. One or two I've picked for my team.
Yeah.
Aye. I went with Hart, Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, and I put Taylor in at left back. I would probably went with Scales, Paul. I think his height, we need to try and get a bit more height in the team, do you know what I mean? Set pieces at both ends of the park. I'd have went with Scales, but I think it'll be Taylor that'll start. And in midfield, I went for McGregor, McCarthy, and Hattati. And the front three, I've went for Abada, Giacomakis and Jota.
I was practically the same. I think it's a big. Is it a big, Mark? It's a big game for McCarthy, though, Mark, to come in, seeing that Bishan has been playing so well. But it's a game, I think, Mark, we need McCarthy for. We saw the tackles in Alloa that McCarthy brings to the team.
Aye,
we need that bit of kick in the team.
I've said it for a while, Paul, especially against them. We were getting out-muscled. We get out-muscled in the midfield, and that's what was costing us the games against them. And, well, I know McCarthy struggled to find a bit of form in that, but, well, this is his big chance, I suppose, isn't it?
Terence, what about yourself? What kind of team would you go?
Similar enough. I had Hart, Juranovic, obviously Vickers, Starfelt. I have Taylor as well. This is what I think Angie's going to start Taylor. I probably would have, even as bad as Ralston was the last day, I might have gone Ralston right back and Juranovic at left back. McGregor, I think it's going to be McGregor, Rio, I'm going to Riley, Jota, Abada, and Jack Mackes. I think certainly, I think McGregor is going to play the same as what Mark is saying. But I think the two boys, I think O'Reilly's been excellent since he's come in.
He really has turned, isn't he? Another one that just came into the team and looked as if he's been playing there for months, didn't he?
What I'd like to do,
it's his physicality as well, though, Mark, and even Rio's his physicality. It's a lot more than I thought they were going to have in them. So, for me, I think to play at the pace that they want to play at, and it's no disrespect to James McCarthy, I think they need those guys in there. I think if they played McCarthy in there as well, it might just slow it down a little bit. But look, I don't know, I could be wrong either. Look, if they get the result, that's the main thing. But that's why I think he will play. You know,
what I'd like, Rob Roy saying it, I was calling Rob because he's Rob Ryan live chat, but he's saying as well, I'd like to see Abada through the middle, but then if we're putting Abada through the middle, does that mean we're bringing James Forrest in? And I don't want that, because I don't want James Forrest to kind of start the game, because I think he's slowing us down at the moment. But
you could do that with 20 minutes to go, Paul, if the game is still.
Because
like a Max stuff and put him through the middle. You know?
I think it's a big game. I think fair enough, he scored down these last two games yesterday and stuff like that, but he looked, Mark, a shadow of the player again yesterday, like, missing key chances and stuff like that, and his touch seemed to be off and stuff like that. G. Marcus, like, it's a big game for G. Marcus, and we need him in top form on Wednesday.
Aye. He's another one that's kind of struggling to find any kind of form, although he has scored a couple of goals. But for me, Paul, as I said, it's poacher goals. If we can get in, you're saying, if we can get in behind the Tavernier and things like that and make chances, I think Giacomakis will score his goals, but it will be like penalty. But do you know what I mean? The penalty box kind of poacher goals and stuff like that he'll get us. I don't think he's going to get the ball and beat three men and bend it into the top corner and stuff like that.
Would you not think Ange, though, considering he made his debut on the left-hand side against Rangers, Mark, that he might put Jovanovic over on the left and bring Ralston in for that bit of physicality that Ralston gives the team these hard tackles, like,
He might do. That's what the job he's saying there as well. He'd have the same team as I did, although he'd have Juranovic at left and Ralston on the right side. He might do.
I think Ralston could be really psyched up for that game. You know what I mean? He's the type of player, Mark, who been Celtic all through his career, like, and I think Ralston could start. I think he was rested for a reason.
He might be. You might be right. But that's one of the things, Paul. I mean, right, we've got injuries and that to contend with players away, but
we have a squad now, Mark.
Paul, we've said it in the last pod. It's really, really hard to pick a team.
There's choices there now.
Aye.
Was there before?
What about the likes of? There's some rumours going around, Terence, that the likes of Rogic and Mida might get back and stuff like that in time. Like, can you see them starting, or maybe being on the bench in the game or something like that? Or do you think it's a bit too much of them because of their travelling?
Well, One, it depends on how they come back. Yeah, not being funny, but if they come back via a private jet, it's a different situation as opposed to if they come back on your normal commercial flight. For one, and two, I couldn't see realistically either the two of them start if they did come back. I'd be surprised, but then again, I didn't think Ange was going to start Rogic the last time he came back from Australia either, and he did. He played.
Yeah.
Aye, he did that, aye. But, I mean, let's face it as well, Terence, their flights flying back like normal was still like that first class with the fancy big comfy seat in the telly and things like that, isn't it? It's no...
What is it?
They're not sitting 10 deep with your knees round your ears on the EasyJet, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, not sitting like we are. But I'm saying, there's always the potential to go, if Ange goes to whoever it could be privately, look, I really need these two guys back. There's nothing to say that if I don't know, are they both in the same neck of the woods?
Well, I'm sure that Maid is only, I'm saying only, in, is it Oman the place is called?
Mm-hmm.
Oman? Oh yeah, in the Middle East, yeah.
I'm sure that's where actual Maid is. I'm not sure where the Australian squad is, but for just what I saw people mention on Twitter, Oman's a bit closer to us than Japan would be, kind of thing, so I don't know if that's still classed as a long haul flight or no, sir.
I saw the funniest. Sorry, Terence, go on.
It's about 8. I think they're about 8 hours or so because I worked in Iraq for a year, so it's about 8 hours to get home.
Was a Saddam Hussein double?
I was there when they caught him.
You were there when they caught him?
I was.
Are you in that wee video?
No, I wasn't.
You're one of, it wasn't you that hung him, was it?
Yeah.
No, but you wasn't, I can't reach that height.
Typical Irishman, then Terence started clapping, no one else is clapping. I thought that was brilliant. Remember, just going back to the time Saddam and Sky News were interviewing there, and they were interviewing the Iraqi Minister of Defence, and he says there's no Americans in Iraq.
Chemical.
Remember trucks then coming behind him.
Chemical Alley, wasn't it they called them?
Yeah.
They used to put them.
20,000 of them around us.
It was the same. A lot of things. See, when Rangers were getting into administration and liquidation, a lot of them were coming out, and it was like stuff like that using him. And it was the Rangers PR man. They used to call him something like that. Chemical. It kind of tied in with it, and that's where that came from. But what were you doing over there, Terence? Like oil worker, that?
No, I was working for DHL courier company. I was actually working in the palace.
That's some delivery route.
when the Americans took over,
Jesus,
they took over the palace. I was a true friend I used to be in college with, and I was working out there, and I was working in the palace, dealing with all the big companies, and then driving back to the airport.
Oh,
Jesus, man!
Fuck that!
I did it for a year.
Pair of balls and you, Terence, I tell you that, huh?
One of my pals' dads was out there working for years and years, and I think it was like mobile, like telephone masts they were building. This is after Saddam. He only retired maybe 3 or 4 years ago for doing it, but they were building this mast up and getting up the next Monday and blew it up. So they were just building these same masts. Do you know what I mean? Oh.
Well, you could sit there at night, Martin. This is genuine. We built a compound beside the airport where all the Americans were, and you could sit there in the evening time, and you could drink beer, and obviously it was a long way away, but you could see the gunfight in the distance, like you could see the bullets flying over and back through the air, like.
Oof.
But you look, it's one of those things, something you do when you kind of.
Some experience, you know what I mean. But I bet you were shiting it at the time. Would you know be sometimes? I mean,
the only time you were is when it was quiet. Mm-hmm. When it was very, very quiet, you'd think something's going to happen. I was on the phone to my mother, and the DHL plane that used to come in and get down got hit by a missile. So I obviously didn't tell her that, but I had to hang up the phone. I'm going to tell my mate. Then I think that's been hit by a missile. You can look it up, like it's true. It's there at the time, like, but yeah. Sorry, I'm waffling.
All right, back to the football there. Jobbers is saying there, checking on the times of the 2 international games on Tuesday. At Japan, kickoff is at 2 just after 10 a.m. in the morning, Australia's game is kicking off at 4 p.m. Like they have a game, Mark, on Tuesday. Like so, it's a big ask. I think if we have to kind of ask him to play, like
I don't think we'll see any of the two of them, to be honest, Paul.
I saw one of the on Twitter there, one of the Rangers fans, Mark, and it just shows now how the pressure has kind of got to their fans as well at the moment. That they said if that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst should be ringing the Colombian manager and asking him if Morales is not going to be in the squad again, that they should release him for the Derby game. Like that just shows now that they're bulking it, the Rangers fans.
They're in full blown panic mode, Paul. I even seen some, obviously somebody took a screenshot off one of their forums or up, and they was saying Abada should have got booked. He should have got a yellow card for taking his shirt off after his goal yesterday, and a second yellow card for running into the fans after he scored. That's how, honestly, they're really, really even watching their live chat in that yesterday, Paul, I need to keep an eye on that. Even they were in panic mode and saying they're just back to playing like they were under Stevie G.
Marcus, key, and this is where we always lost the Derby games, the midfield. No, we don't have Scott Brown in there to slow us down. Hopefully, as you say, Cal McGregor is back, but if he's not, we'll have players to fit in there. I presume maybe O'Reilly and McCarthy might slot in there, but we have to control the midfield, Mark, from the start. We have to win that battle.
Aye, 100%, Paul. That's where we've lost the last few derbies. I keep saying it. We've been overpowered in midfield. Do we need
there's no reason, Mark. Like we're playing against Arfield and Davis, who are well in their 30s. Like I know Rebo and stuff there. Like we have quality as well, Mark. We shouldn't be overrun in the midfield as we have been in previous derbies.
Well, that's got to be. It's kind of, for me, it's a kind of priority. That's what Ange needs to come up with, a way for us to control the midfield. But see the way we're passing, Paul, the amount of passes we're making.
That's what I'm thinking, Mark. Yeah.
Is he going to try and out-pass them, outplay them, rather than outfight them?
That's what I'm thinking, Mark. That we have the players now. Like when we played them early on, we were getting used to the Ange system, and now our average possession rate and passes is around the 800 mark, and with the inverted full-backs, as he calls it, cutting in, and we might be actually overpassing their midfield, Mark, with the wings. Like I think our wingers are going to be crucial, and that's why I think Abada and Jota need to be on the rings. And the reason I'm saying that is Jovanovic up on the left is because I think Tavernier could have a field there, Mark, if Taylor's up so high up the field. He's going to struggle to get back, and that's going to drag Starfelt out to the left and leave space then in the middle against Carver Vickers. You know what I mean? I think Jovanovic or Scales, I think, is a better option, but if I'm going to pick one, it has to be Jovanovic out on that left-hand side, Mark. Someone with a bit of speed, Mark, who's going to be able to get up and down that line with Tavernier, because we know Tavernier's going to get forward.
Aye, that's a good point. You might be right, Paul. That is definitely, obviously an option. I mean, I still maintain Juranovic is the best left back at the club. I don't really think anybody would disagree with that. I'm not keen on when they move them up to the right wing and things like that, right enough. But it's maybe we'll go for the Ralston Juranovic at left back shot.
I think that's the strongest option.
But there's a big responsibility as well, Paul, on the guys playing left and right wing, if that's Jota and Abada, that they have to track back.
Oh yeah, without doubt, yeah.
Big response, because at the other side of it, they need to be pushing Tavernier back.
Exactly, that's it. That's key, Terence. Into we need to keep Tavernier and Bashak pinned back.
They're their main threat. Yeah. They're their main threats. And if the likes of Kent doesn't track back, then you've got if it's Juranovic on the left and you've got John on the left, you've got two running one all day long. Keep them if our wingers can keep them pinned back. It's going to be a huge part
Is Kent available, Mark, since he got sent off against Aberdeen, or was that his game yesterday that he missed?
I think he's available, Paul. He might. There might be moves for him in the transfer window before it shuts, Paul.
Hard Leeds, kind of.
There's a few teams down in England he's sniffing about, and he's not meant to be too happy there anymore. So I don't really rate Kent, to be honest, Paul.
No, I'm the same, Mark.
No, he's a decent player, but when you on social media and that, I think a lot of Celtic fans give him a bit more credibility than he's actually earned. And I think it's more a dislike for him, but the way they kind of word it, they make it as if he's a good player. Do you get what I mean?
I think he was a better player than he is now. He certainly regressed, as you'd say. But I'd still be very wary that if he did play, he's a guy that they'd need to keep an eye on, because he's one of the few guys in the team that you think could hurt Celtic if he was playing. I don't think he's as good as he was, but I do think he's one guy that they need to keep an eye on if he does play.
Alice saying our defence is the best in the league. Do not change a winning team. And I think our best defence, Mark, is at the moment Radostin and Ivanovic on either flanks. You know, I think that's the best defence when we have Radostin, Vickers, Starfelt and Ivanovic. You know, I think that's the strongest one we put out. Like, you know, like
Ivanovic is rapid. Like, I can't believe how quick he's very quick. Like, see him, he's the covering that he's done, especially in the Hearts game, I think once or twice. I couldn't believe the pace he had to get back. Whereas, with the greatest respect to Taylor, he doesn't have that in him. Neither would Scales, to be fair.
And that's why I kind of put a kind of concern there in terms if I saw Taylor there, that I think Tavernier then would kind of get forward more than he would, because Ivanovic would push up, and he's going to pin him back as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I as I said, I would have the two boys. I would have, as much as he didn't play well the last night, Ralston right back, and I had Juranovic left back, you know, and just have four good solid boys at the back. I just worry at times that, I don't know, like you, Taylor is a decent enough defender, but he when he loses out up the pitch, he just struggles to get back, and that's not trying to have a pop off the guy, but I just think we need to be so rock solid for this on Wednesday.
Mark, it's crucial as well. We've seen it yesterday. We saw it in a few games against St. Mirren and Livingston. Like, we have to make our chances count when we do get them, because I think we will create chances, but we have to make them count on Wednesday. We can't be missing sitters or stuff. I know it's easy to say like this.
Just what we were talking about with Dundee United, Paul, and even other night, we just need to be more clinical in front of goal. But the way we were saying there, the way McGregor's been playing in that, let's put him under pressure. A lot of pressure, do you know what I mean? Decent shots outside the box, a lot of balls into the box and things like that. And I mean, his last couple of performances, that'll be eating away at him. Two of the worst positions to play for confidence in a team, Paul, is a goalkeeper that's leaking goals and a centre forward that can't score for love nor money. Because the pressure just builds on you and makes it. Do you get what I mean? It gets to you and makes it even worse. It's playing on your mind, kind of thing. So just keep pressure on McGregor. And I've said it to you today, Paul, last night. I'm more confident to get into this derby game than I've been in a while, to be honest. I usually say I'm quietly confident.
But he at that as well, Mark, and we kind of saw this underhand. We don't be kind of losing our heads in games, like, you know what I mean? We seem to be keeping our heads above ground and stuff like that, and that's crucial as well in these games, Mark, that the players don't go into rash tackles. They don't give the referees the decisions to book them off, send them off. Do you know what I mean?
No, but we don't. Well, apart from Beaton yesterday, I suppose that's a bit of a contradiction. But
yeah, but
we're no that style of team, Paul. No, we're no that style of team. We don't get away a lot of like kind of malicious fouls and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And Well, we
But a
know
lot
that,
of it's going to depend on the referee as well.
that's what I was going to say. We know that they're going to try and take it down a kind of physical road. So it'll come down.
Brother Bobby Madden, is this? That's reffing, is this?
But if you look at it, Paul, if the ref gives for the first challenge, for argument's sake, if Celtic in the first challenge, whoever, and they catch the Rangers player and he gives a card, that's it. That means it's a card for every tackle like that, and that's that. So if the referee sets a precedent that someone,
But we know as well, Terence, it doesn't always work like that.
it doesn't.
Do you know what I mean? That's what it's consistency that we need for referees.
Yeah,
that's what
I think, Mark, like the pressure always come on the referees because of you had Rangers, Aberdeen, and Ange coming out criticising the referees. Like so, like the referees really need to have a good game on Wednesday night.
No doubt we'll be. I've got no doubt Paul will be sitting here talking about them on Thursday night. You know what I mean? Just some of the referees, first couple of guys I ever noticed doing it was, I suppose you could even say Kalina done it, but he was probably the best referee in the world for a long time, and probably never been a better referee than him since. But a lot of the time the referees try and make the game more about them than it is. Do you know what I mean? It is about actual football. And I think sometimes Scottish referees kind of fall into that bit of a trap, and they're looking for I don't know if they're looking for attention or things. I don't know. Sometimes it's
best referee is the one you don't talk about or don't even know he's on the pitch.
That's it. That's exactly how it turns.
They're the best referees, the guys you hardly even know are on the pitch. Let's hope he's not talking about a refereeing decision against Celtic on Thursday, because look, if Celtic play the way they can play and the way they have been playing, and they play with the pace and the accuracy that they have, it's hard to see how this crowd can live with them. It really is. If they play with the intensity that they can play it, and the players that we still have available, it's very hard to see how they live with
that's a good point there you made, Terence. Like if we play the way we know the Celtic team can play, do you get me? The high intensity, the high tempo and stuff like that, right from the start, and we keep it going. And I think as well, like as what we were saying in the last podcast, Mark, that the players seem to tire as the game goes on, that and should be kind of using his bench early if we are tiring in games, isn't it?
I'm getting a wee bit off topic here, Paul. Just came into my head there. See what you were saying about Tavernier and that pushing forward. I noticed a lot of Rangers fans on their live chat yesterday saying that they're not doing that as much under Van Bronckhorst. It seems as if the full back
kind of bring in a kind of defensive team. So
Paul. They're not getting up my attacking as much as they have been doing under Stevie G and things like that. Just that came right into my head there, Paul. Sorry, a bit late.
No, but that's good, like, because like we know the way Steven Gerrard would want to attack Celtic, and we saw that, you know, and that was his main tactic, was Tavernier and Brashear getting up the wings where they caused us problems. They were using their wings.
Well, it seems that Van Bronckhorst kind of put a bit of colour on that over the last few games before he came in.
Well, that's just going to that's a benefit to us, Mark, because we're going to be able to play the way we want to play with our inverted fullbacks tucking in then. So, do you know what I mean? You know,
I mean, Van Bronckhorst is still trying to get that team. He's still working on his team kind of thing. And
this isn't his team, Mark. This is Steven Gerrard team. You know.
And he'll be asking players today. But it's the same as Ange when he replaced Lennon. He'll be asking players today things that they're not used to doing. But some players are probably some players probably don't like it that there's been a change of their role and things like that. So.
Yeah, and you can't think that he's only been in the job, Mark, since January.
Nobody's mentioning about that.
Yeah, like Ange now is like, you can't say nothing about this isn't Ange's team. This is Ange's team all over it, because we had no team at the start of the year. Terence.
No,
these are his players. The more he's getting used to them, we've seen the players are getting better.
Everything about it, Paul, is Ange's team. The players, the style, the pace, the accuracy. Like, as we all saw the video at the start of the thing where he kind of gets them to say, look, we keep going. Just going back to your point, Paul, some of the reasons why I don't think Ange has made some of the changes recently, and there was a lot of criticism, I think, of him of not taking off Beaton, I think, in the Hearts match because of a booking or something like that. I just think Andrews was very conscious that the guys like Rio and the guys like O'Reilly hadn't played much football. And he'd be conscious going, well, if I take off Beaton and I bring on McCarthy, and all of a sudden one of those guys goes, I'm looking at someone, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing some DIY there, Paul.
I'm just scraping
your initials in the table.
like in school, yeah.
Paul Loveheart Veronica.
The lines then she loves me. No, she loves me. She loves me.
That's why I don't think Andrew's making changes as soon as he would like. He's probably looking at the bench and going, okay, I have to be wary if I've got two very experienced players or on the bench or one experienced player on the bench, and I take off a very experienced player, and then someone like if you look at O'Reilly after 70 odd minutes, whatever it was, 80 minutes against Hearts, the guy in fairness he ran himself into the ground.
Yeah, because I think he never played this kind of football.
He said he couldn't believe that. He couldn't believe the atmosphere. So God only knows what he's going to do about wins.
He'll not been how long had he been in the Celtic? A few days. Intensity of the training, then playing in the game and everything will be a shock to him. No wonder he went down with bad cramp.
Do you know when this game was supposed to be played in December, Celtic said that there was going to be no Rangers fans at the game. Is it going to be a full house Celtic fans? Or are we going to expect some? I know Welch said that he is expecting some fans to be there, but I don't know. Is there going to be some fans there? Or?
I don't think so, Paul.
No,
I think it's just full Celtic, aye.
Yeah, the fans are going to be key as well.
There's no reason for them to be there. There's no Celtic fans in the first game, regardless of whether this game's rearranged or not. There'll be no Rangers fans at this game.
Like that's going to be key as well. I think the 12th man and all the fans. In fairness to them, they kept going yesterday with the team, like urging them on. Like it's going to be.
I seen some doing Twitter last night saying that one of the things that surprised them was the amount. I mean, see if you go to a Celtic game, Paul, see like for 80 minutes on, the ground usually empties.
Everyone stayed there yesterday.
Aye, that's what I was going to say. A few folk on Twitter and that said that they were surprised that the crowd, the majority of the crowd all stayed to the actual death, as if they could sense that this is coming. Do you get what I mean? They knew that there was a chance that they were going to.
The fans sense, Mark, that they're buying into this winning attitude that Andrew's brought in, that they keep going, the goal is coming to go. Like, it's key, like, that the fans have this kind of winning mentality as well, Mark, that they don't stop booing the team and stuff like that, they keep egging them on.
The booing never helps a team. No during that game, do you know what I mean? If you get beaten, put a stupid performance in, you give him a bit of busking off the park or that, fair dues, but no during games, just I don't buy into that kind of thing.
We're going to go score predictions, Mark. Well, you normally kind of bang on with them.
Yeah. I'll go for 2-0, Paul.
Terence?
About 3-1.
I was going to say that, but I think we're Waller Steelo protect the goal.
Like, it's a big Mark. Like, Morales is a big loss for them. Like, because Rufus is only back from injury, he's not going to be match fit, and the other striker then is Isan. Who
have you seen him?
No,
oh
it's
my!
to be shocking.
Oh.
Did they recall him from a loan?
No, they didn't recall him. The other team hunted him.
Got rid of him.
The other team hunted him. They played it out in the press as if they recalled him. Even the Rangers fans are saying this guy's just ganting. Honestly.
Jesus, like you're on about us missing players, like, but they're missing their he is their star striker. Like, I know he's only scored one goal against us, but Mark, he is their threat. Like. And they're missing their main threat, Good
question, Paul. Do you care?
No.
I don't.
I don't care. I don't care. No, if Morelos plays, I wouldn't care. Bring him back.
I'd be more worried about
big stuff.
Play back because of one of our players getting sent off because of his antics more than
Big Starfelt will slip him right in his back pocket.
But I'd be more worried about his
Big back pocket.
antics rather than his goal threat.
I think referees are referees. I mean, fair play to referees, Paul. I think the referees in Scotland are they've copped on to Morelos and his mastery of the dark arts, shall we call it? But
do you think, Mark, that this is only just me, just throwing stuff out there, since Gerrard is gone, and Gerrard was famous for coming out dissing the Scottish referees and stuff like that. That now the referees are giving these decisions against Rangers, that Gerrard is gone, that he's not coming out after every game. I know they came out against Aberdeen and stuff like that, but I'm actually seeing more decisions go against Rangers since Gerrard is gone.
That's a bit of conspiracy there, Paul. But I mean, let's not be kidding, Paul. Probably a lot of these referees and officials in Scotland would maybe be a bit starstruck with Steven Gerrard when he first came in.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean? I mean, it's like we're going about Joe Hart, right? And he's only our goalkeeper, the experience and what he's done, and the kind of man. A couple of years ago, this guy was playing for Man City and playing for England. And I mean, look at what Gerrard done as a player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if maybe that's played a bit of a part in it. Do you know what I mean? Gerrard was. See, like if Gerrard chat to the referee's door after the game, oh, well, man, there's Steven Gerrard. I need boys, can I get a wee autograph from my boat? Any chance of a selfie in that, Steve? Do you know what I mean? I don't know if maybe that's played a part in it, like Steven Gerrard's kind of reputation preceded him, so he was. I don't know, no influence. I don't like to use that word influence, but I don't know how to put it.
But it kind of has, Mark. It kind of has. Gerrard,
but didn't you have a referee apologise for a decision? Like, when would you have ever heard of a referee apologising for a decision? But he apologised to Gerrard after one of the matches that he made the wrong decision. Like, I think it was against Aberdeen or something like that, and Tadri or something there. The referee came out and he said he apologised to Gerrard because he made the wrong decision.
Aye.
That's like, if that was whoever it was, the Rangers manager, if that's Van Bronckhorst or that's whoever it is, Ange or whoever, no referee's going to come out and say that. But if it was, as you said, if it's Steven Gerrard, or if it was like thank God he's not the manager, but if it was like Roy Keane with
Roy Keane, that's what I mean. If Roy Keane had come up, his kind of reputation and kind of precedes him, and a lot of people would have been starstruck with meeting him and dealing with him, wouldn't they, Terence?
Completely, they'd be going, oh my God, it's Roy Keane. Oh my God, my young fella loves Roy Keane, or this and that. And that's half it. And like, if there's even a waiver of a 50-50 decision, what way do you think the referee will go? Like, he'll go, I'm not going to give it against him. No, I wouldn't give it against them. I don't want to get on the wrong side of so and so. I don't want to get on the wrong side of Steven Gerrard. Or, as I said, if it was Roy Keane, thank God it isn't. But that has to play an influence, Paul. That has to play an influence. Like, thankfully, it shouldn't play it anymore now, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it did play an influence.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, because I'm actually seeing a lot of decisions going against him. Do you know what I mean?
Stephen, I don't think Van Bronckhorst is that. I don't think he's that type of person. I don't think he's going to come. See, like these kind of rabble-rousing, call to arms kinds of sound bites.
It was the board themselves, Mark, that came up with this letter to the Scottish FA.
Aye. Did Van Bronckhorst even mention it?
No.
I'd not seen him. Van Bronckhorst actually mention anything about their complaints and things like that. And I mean, I hated Gianni Van Bronckhorst when he played with Rangers, right? And I hate him again because he's a manager. But he was a good player. There's no disputing that fact. Know what I mean? He was a great player back in the day. And as I say, I just don't think he's that type of manager that's going to get involved in that type of thing. I think he's more like he wanted his work on the training ground and things like that. That the Dutch kind of approach to it. I mean, it's like even Ange came out in an interview after the Hearts game, and somebody said offside goals, and Ange was like, he's like talking about the refereeing decisions, or something along the lines. He's like talking about refereeing decisions out here, didn't he?
What about talking about the football? Like,
aye, and I don't think Van Bronckhorst will buy into this kind of, I need to go out there and say the ref done that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what is it?
He's very continental though, compared to Gerrard.
Playing to the gallery, it's kind of playing to the gallery in that terms. It's, I'll say this and that, because I know that's what the fans want to hear.
Well,
the siege mentality kind of thing.
Yeah, and Jared being a British manager, it's nearly the done thing that they do in the Premier League or whatever. They come out and they might give out about this or that. It's probably not something that Van Bronckhorst through his time with the more continental kind of manager you'd see. Whereas it's like that, the Rangers fans would love what Jared come out and go, this, and this, and it's Stephen Gerrard, and instead the influence that he would have had over referees would have been massive. The influence he probably would have even had, to be honest, Paul, over the likes of even the Scottish FA would have been massive. Because they're looking like that. They're looking at that as a coup. We've got Stephen Gerrard as a manager in Scotland. I know it's nothing to do with them, but they must look at that and go, oh God, because all what you heard in the papers was, oh, it could be Roy Keane and Stephen Gerrard. That would be unbelievable. No one was even talking about the players. No one was even talking about the players at the time. So those guys would have huge influences on the people off the pitch line.
There's Kenny Arthur. Sevco have to be addressed as Sevco, not Rangers, lads.
That's it.
Well, call them somebody else, but I try to be polite before a big derby game there, Kenny.
Exactly. That's it for tonight, folks. We'll be back again on Thursday night at 7 p.m. to talk about the match reaction of Celtic versus Shefko, as Kevin wanted us to say. Hopefully, we'll be sitting here next week as we'll be in top of the league by 1 point. Terence, thanks very much again for coming on. Thanks to the live chat. Terence, do you want to say anything before we go?
Oh, just thanks as always, lads. Always very enjoyable, and fingers crossed for a great win Wednesday night and hopefully top of the table.
Mark, you want to close the show?
Thanks very much, you, Paul, and for Terence and to Terence missus for letting him out to play the night. I know he was grounded on Thursday. He wasn't allowed out to play. He was on Thursday night, but he done a bit of smooching. Thanks very much to everybody that joined us in the live chat. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join us again the next show on Thursday night, as Paul says. If you've not subscribed, please do it. Share the podcast about if you want to. Hit the like button, and if you know how to, please leave a comment. It helps us build and grow on YouTube. Thanks very much, lads. Hail, hail. Good luck on Wednesday. God bless.